Yesterday, I made this prototype of an expanding header menu. And today, somebody asked me about making a fixed header through a transition. And so I thought I would build off of this same prototype and show how to do that. So what I've done is added a third screen to the prototype I started yesterday, and it's this detail screen. This screen has a similar header to the home screen. And what I want to do is make a transition from the home screen to the detail screen where the header appears to be fixed in place, or it's the same header through the transition. And the text, of course, will change during the transition, but the overall header is going to look like a single element during the animation. So I'm going to create a link on this entire scroll group here and target the detail screen. Now the reason I'm doing this on the entire scroll group instead of a single row is because I would like to just have a generic detail screen that works for any of these. And if I were to make this a real app or a very complete prototype, I might make detail screens for each of these rows. But right now it gets the point across if you tap any of them that it goes to the mountain bluebird screen. So I'll make a new transition, and in the transition designer, the default transition is sort of this push left. Now what I want to happen is for this header to remain fixed on top of the other header, and the easiest way to do that is to pull this header out of its screen to the top of the layer list. So doing that puts it on top of everything else, but more importantly, it positions it relative to the screen frame rather than relative to the screen. So I'm going to move it a little bit just so you can see what's happening. Now watch, this screen animates in, and the header animates in from where I placed it, but it's no longer being positioned relative to the rest of the screen that it was on. So this makes it really easy to just put it on top here. And what I can do is fade it out. And now we're halfway there. The problem is that the header on the other screen slides off of the screen. So let's do the same thing with that one. I'll go to the end of the transition so that I can modify the start screen, and I'll take the header from that one and drag it up to the top of the layer list, just below the other header. Now that one's positioned directly below the other one, and if I toggle back and forth now, you can see that the header stays completely fixed in place, and there's a nice crossfade because I'm fading out the header from the detail, or I'm fading in the header from the detail screen. Now if I want to get even more detailed with this, I can zoom in a little, and let's set it up so that the mountain bluebird text, which I've just selected there, I would like that to move in from the side. So I'm going to drag it over to the right. Now this entire group is faded out, so it's hard to see that layer. And I could fade this back in a little bit if I just want to see what I'm doing. So this text will start over here on the right. The back button, I'll actually line it right up with the title. Let's see how that looks. And then what I'm going to do with the other header, which is behind the one that I can see here. So I'm clicking through to that title in the header that's behind the mountain bluebird one. And I'm going to drag this so that it moves over to the left along with that word birds. So let's see how that looks. Now this is much closer to the actual iOS 7 push transition. They do some fancy animations in the header, and you can see here that the word birds becomes the back button and the title slides in from the right. Now let me just fade out that header entirely, and let's toggle this again. So when it goes fast, it just looks like a perfect iOS push transition. Okay, so I'm going to exit out of the transition designer. Well, one more thing actually. Keep in mind that I can do whatever I want with these screens now, and the headers are going to stay fixed in place where I put them because they were pulled out of the layer list, and their screens positions no longer affect them. So if I do something a little bit weird with this one, the header animation still looks exactly the same. Cool. So I'm going to make this backlink work by drawing a link over that, targeting the backlink indicator. And I'm also going to draw a link down the left edge, also target back, and use a right swipe gesture. Okay, I'm opening the preview. Let's just confirm that this menu still works. And now if I tap on one of the items here, I get taken to that screen, and I can do a nice swipe, direct manipulation swipe to get back. And that header animation looks beautiful with all the little details. I got the crossfade to line up just perfectly. And that's how you can keep a header fixed during a transition. And that technique of pulling a layer out of the screen to the top of the layer list, it's useful in a lot of other situations. And you can also pull layers out to the middle of the two screens or to the very bottom.